Testing 1, 2, 3, testing. Can you hear this okay?
Yeah.
That's good. Don't speak into it. We'll pass this along. Just make sure it was part of the So the idea will be to pass this microphone down. Or shorter candidates. Let's see, we'll get that figured out. I also have this microphone as well. So. Okay, that's what we'll end up doing. So I think we'll just probably keep this one up here for me. That's the best feedback I've had all night, right there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that here. Well, thank you for coming out tonight, first of all. Good turnout, great turnout. In fact, thank you, candidates, for coming out tonight as well. As you know, this is a forum to help decide for whom you're going to vote in the upcoming primary election. Important election by all measures, for sure. My name is David Keys. I publish the Daily Bee newspaper of the Bonner Herald and the Priest River Times. This is Tyson Bird. He is the editor-in-chief of the Cedar Post, the award-winning Sandpoint High School. It's okay, they clap for you, but they didn't clap for me. It's okay, it really is. As you've already heard, we'll take questions from the audience in written form. Tyson will help out with that. If you'll write out your questions, maybe raise your hand or something so we have them here. Each candidate also has a question, so there may be some repeats. So part of Tyson's responsibilities with me will be to make sure we don't have repeated questions. We want to cover as much ground as we can tonight, and I think you'll all appreciate that we don't repeat that too long, for sure. I want to thank, first of all, Chuck Smith. He's here. Videosmith is here with the videotaping. This will be on the cable TV as well, so it'll be probably on a loop. They usually do that before for us. It'll also be online. It'll be on our website, the Daily Bee, and I think Keoki also will have it on their website through YouTube is how we'll end up doing that. Then also, the KRFY FM radio station will have a podcast of the audio portion of this tonight too. So and that'll be running off and on until the primary as well. So we wanted to give everybody a chance at least to know what happened tonight. So, without further ado then, what I want to do is move forward and I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and introduce the candidates. Each candidate has a unique placeholder on their chair. They have their name on an envelope. And most of them follow the rules and didn't open. There's a question in these too. So what I want to do is give each of you 2 minutes, okay? 1 minute to talk, 1 minute to open the envelope and answer the questions. So here's what you can do. You, Glenn, can start, and you can open up your envelope first. And then when he's almost done, you can open up your envelope, Marcia, moving down Todd, all the way down the list. So don't open up way before, open up when you're next. They're all unique questions. Came from the newsroom at the Daily Bee, came from Facebook, and a few other odds and ends. So they're uniquely for you. Do you have any questions? All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and start then. Let me grab my list here, make sure we're all in the same order they're supposed to be. I think we are. And I also learned something too. I've got a copy of all their questions they're being asked too, so they don't make up one. And I thought, testing again. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. All right. Again, I will stopwatch going. Those of you who have been here before know that I keep a pretty tight clock on things, and that's only fair. Again, this is an interview for a job that you're all wanting to receive. Part of that is playing by the rules, and part of that is, again, you're in front of the people who are checking out whom they're going to vote, and so we want to make sure, again, this is your chance to remind them why they should vote for you, perhaps. And perhaps maybe why they should vote for you over somebody else. So that's what this is all about. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And without further ado, I'll introduce Glenn Bailey.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Bring it out. Okay, bring it up more.
Well, did you hear this? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Glenn Bailey. I am currently the Bonner County Commissioner from District 1. I was elected a year ago by the Bonner County Board of Local Precinct Committeemen. They elected 3 individuals whose names were sent to the governor, and the governor and his team selected which one of those three would be
That's time. Thank you.
Okay, as I was saying, Joyce Broadsword resigned a year ago, and the Idaho Code says that to replace a resigning county commissioner, that you have to go through an election process. 3 names would be sent to the governor's office, and the governor would choose the representative, the new county commissioner. I was the one that the governor selected. I have 22 years service with the United States Air Force and the Alaska Air National Guard. My wife, Cheryl, was born and raised in Coquilala, and she told me we're leaving Alaska and we're going back home to Coquilala. That was in 2002. I have enjoyed living here, and I worked for the county as a Bonner County bailiff in the court system. I got to know quite a few Bonner County residents, and that was not a lot of fun.
We're going to try this again here. Do you think it might be better to have the mic instead of something wireless?
Just have the cord and just have them stay on this side.
We don't mind standing. Okay, let's try that. You mind? You guys don't mind walking over? No.
But if I fall, we better not.
Testing one more time. All right.
So anyway, as Bonner County Commissioner, I am on the Bonner County Area Transportation Team, taking care of your roadways and the construction projects. I am also the trustee and a member of the Panhandle Health Board, taking care of health care and those kinds of issues. Let me go ahead and answer the question. I'll wrap this up. Otherwise,
We broke you up a little bit there. I want to make sure that you get a chance.
okay, Glenn Bailey, why do your signs say re-elect Glenn Bailey when you were appointed to your seat? As I just explained, Bonner County, or Idaho State Code says that to replace a county commissioner, the precinct committeemen, 33 of them from the Republican Party, would vote, and I was one of the 3 elected and presented to the governor's office, and the governor selected me. Thank you.
We'll just tie you away.
Okay, I won't go far, I promise. I'm really happy to be here this evening. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. Sandpoint is a great town, isn't it? When all the people, I'll be right there. When all of the people can come out and see who's running for office and who wants to represent you. My name is Marcia Phillips. I'm a Republican. I have served as county commissioner. I was elected by the people of Bonner County to serve from 2003 to 2007. I was not appointed by a group of 34 or so people. I took office when you all voted for me in those years. So I'm looking forward to coming back, and here's why. A lot of people have asked me to come back. I've had county employees ask me to come back. I've had citizens who've asked me to come back. I come back to you bringing over 11 years of experience in planning and land use code development. I know what I'm doing. I come to you as a fiduciary. I know how to do accounting. I know when money is taken out of a utility fund that it is illegal to begin with, and not paying it back is also illegal, and 2 wrongs have never made a right, and I don't think they ever will. I also know how to do project management. I've managed 2 very large projects with money that had to be raised from outside. Those projects came in under budget and completed successfully. I look forward to serving as your county commissioner again. I want to bring back that experience, the proven successful leadership that I brought to you in those years I served from 2003 to 2007. I look forward to bringing positive growth to Bonner County, an open door to the citizens to invite you in to hear what your ideas are. Because it isn't about what I want to do, it's about what you want me to do for you. And that's what my plan is. So can I open my question?
Okay.
How would you respond to the claim you weren't known for your teamwork with other governmental bodies when you served on the commission before? Well, I don't know who made that claim because I had a good relationship with every other governmental entity in Bonner County, with the exception of one incident, and that was when the county took back the dispatch center that was presently managed by Sandpoint City. And when we took it back and we asked for the historical data to protect the police officers in Sandpoint when they were responding to domestic issues, that the then police chief would not give me that information. So that was about the only time that I could think of that I did not get along with another city official, but I chose not to get along with him because it was about protecting the safety of our officers and protecting the citizens. And I won that battle when I asked him if he didn't mind about his officers being harmed. And when he realized that that was an issue, he gave me the data that I needed to open the dispatch center. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Todd Sudik. I'm a candidate for Bonner County Commissioner, District 2. I've lived in Bonner County for 33 years. I was a pilot in the Marine Corps for 22 years, retired as a lieutenant colonel. I also was an airline pilot for 30 years, retiring as a captain with U.S. Airways. Over the years, as I've lived in Bonner County, I have been involved at every level. Last 13 years, I've served on the Bonner County Waterways Committee. I sit on the Priest River Airport Board, and I've served on numerous committees throughout the county at different levels, from the school district to local road paving committee. As far as where I think Bonner County ought to be going and what I'm going to do, of course, everyone's going to tell you this, jobs are important. But I'd like to see a review of all of the ordinances and the comprehensive plan to see what works and what doesn't work, so we don't have things on the book for years that may be causing some harm here in Bonner County. I would appreciate your vote and your support in the election for District 2 Commissioner.
I'd like to answer the question.
Some feel that you are only in this race to advocate for the lake level. How would you respond? I am a strong advocate for the lake level and have been for years. I live on the lake. But that's not the reason I'm running for commissioner. I work closely with the Lakes Commission as a member of the Bonner County Waterways Committee, and I'm really running to make sure that the county continues on a no-drama, professional, business-like approach to how we run the county. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Zyshek, and I'm running for Bonner County Commissioner from District 2. And it's wonderful to see so many people turning out tonight who are engaged with the political process. I've watched the continuing growth of government and the shrinkings of liberties and freedoms, and so I made the decision to run for office. I want to make a difference for the people of Bonner County. Bonner County needs a fresh voice in county government. I'm a small business owner. With my business experience, I know how to set realistic budgets and operate within them. I can bring people together to work as a team, and I have the marketing experience to attract the kind of businesses that this county needs. And that, in my opinion, is the most critical issue facing Bonner County, the need for increased opportunities for businesses and job seekers. Overregulation is a barrier to creating opportunities for businesses to grow and thrive. We need to eliminate the unnecessary fees and regulations. I also support opportunities for quality job development, including greater broadband coverage, manufacturing, and the responsible use of our natural resources for logging, farming, and ranching. I believe there needs to be a continuing move towards government transparency and efficiency in our county departments, and I will work to protect our Second Amendment rights.
You can answer the question if you'd like.
Okay, and the question is, It is arguable that local government has shrunk in the last 4 years. How, in your view, has it expanded? Well, let me put it this way. I do believe that people's budgets and their incomes have shrunk. It's arguable that the county government, with our current commissioners, have done a really good job of streamlining. I want to continue doing that, but I see it for the kind of economy we have here and the kind of salary level we have here. I believe it's maybe a little too much than what we need.
Thank you. Just to be clear, since we don't have name tags that are visible out here, the first two candidates, Lynn and Marcia, are running against each other, and they'll be facing Steve Johnson and Harold Rainey. The winner of the primaries will face the Democrat candidate Steve Johnson and the independent candidate Harold Rainey Sr. And then Todd and Victoria are running for District 3. So, or did I say 3? Oh, 2. Those. Running for 2, and then that will be it. There's no general election candidate for that. So now we'll move to the statewide race. Sean Keel.
State legislature, Legislative District 1, and State Senate in particular. Hi, my name is Sean Keogh, and I'm your current state senator for Legislative District 1, and I am a Republican candidate, and I am a Republican. And I would join with my colleagues here on the stage in welcoming you here this evening, and thank you very much for your time and turning out, and looking forward to your questions. It's been a privilege for me and an honor for me to serve this area and the people in it. I live here, have lived here for over 30 years. My husband and I have raised our family here. Our 2 grown sons are in college, and we're now proud grandparents. And because I'm here at our citizen legislature, which truly in Idaho is a part-time legislature, I work for a living. I'm blessed to work with the Associated Logging Contractors, and I have to live and work under the same laws and regulations that we make in the state legislature. And that's an awesome opportunity for me to make sure that I don't get out of touch with the people at home. I serve as the vice chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, which is the Senate side of the Budget Committee, which is made up of House Appropriations and Senate Finance. I've been in that position for a number of years, and in that capacity, I have been able to make sure that our budgets are managed much like we manage our checkbook at home, and making sure also that Northern Idaho priorities have the same consideration as other places in the state, and have been successful in those endeavors. I also serve on the Senate Transportation Committee as the senior member. I am poised and positioned to take that experience and continue to have it work for us here. And thank you very much for your consideration. And the question is, how would you respond to claims that you are a career politician and should make way for a fresh voice? And I appreciate that question, and that is something that I hear very often. I am just completing my 9th term, which for the Idaho State Legislature, with 2-year terms, that's 18 years. If you condense that into the 6 months that's actually involved in those 2-year terms, that's about half of the actual time in the legislature in Boise. My response is this. I have been honored when I decide, with the guidance of my family and my friends and neighbors and community members, to throw my hat in the ring again for election every 2 years. The people of this district have blessed me with the honor of continuing to serve. And I think that is the reason for the longevity that I've enjoyed in the office, and that brings the experience that we need to make sure that our issues continue to be addressed and that we continue to move forward on those issues. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Danielle Ahrens. I'm running for Legislative District 1 Senator. My family has been in Idaho since the mid-1850s. My mother's name was Barlow, as in Barlow Stadium over here in Sandpoint. 2 years ago, in 2012, I ran for the first time for political office. I ran for the Senate. While I didn't win, I had a couple of thousand people vote for me. I knew that they would not be represented in session the next session. So I went down voluntarily. I lived with Senator Cheryl Nuxel and worked with her in her office for the entire session. While I was down there, Obamacare was an issue coming up. I watched the emails, the faxes, the phone calls come across 100 to 1 from you guys against it. I also watched my opponent accept $5,500 in campaign donations from the healthcare industry. With 55,000 people in the district, that's a dime. She sold each one of you out for one dime. I watched her over and over again, what they had said they were going to do for you up here. They voted the opposite down there. They voted against gun rights. They brought in Obamacare. The things that they said they were doing are not conservative, they're not Republican, they're not North Idaho values. I'm very active in the community. I work with Community Assistance League. I'm on the board of directors for the Farm Bureau. My daughter and I and my son-in-law, we raise pigs for 4-H kids and FFA kids. My daughter's a juvenile detention officer here at Bonner Sheriff's Department, and my son-in-law is a police officer up in Bonner's Ferry. So I'm very heavily invested in the community. I put thousands of hours in every year because I love the people here. And I am dedicated to you, and I will work for you. Because when I go down to Boise, you go down to Boise. The question, you are an early advocate for guns in the classroom and training teachers to respond to armed gunmen. Given the widespread opposition among teachers, do you still think this is a good option? What I did is I developed my first piece of legislation, and it was to enable local school boards, the district, and the public to decide how they wanted it to look in their schools, whether they wanted to arm the teachers or not. It was to take it to a local level and give you that choice and not the legislature. When I first brought it in, it came through unanimously through the Bonner County Republican Party. The Attorney General supported it, and the Superintendent supported it. So I was not advocating one way or the other. I just wanted the people to be able to vote and decide what it looked like to keep our children safe.
Christian?
Thank you very much. All right, hi, my name is Christian Fioravanti, and I'm running for state senate against Sean Keogh and Jack Mervin. I am with the Constitution Party, and I live in Barnesbury. I've owned my own business now for the last 7 years, and so I do understand what it takes to make a profit in business, and how government regulations destroy the small business owners. Idaho is a land rich in resources, natural gas, timber, silver, and water, to name a few. Our people are hardworking, God-fearing, and self-reliant. But we need strong leadership in Boise. Leadership that's going to stand up to the feds and push back on the federal mandates that are killing our state. We need leadership with a vision to secure our prosperity that's going to take action on that vision and implement it. How would you like to live in a state that is so prosperous we have a surplus? How would you like to receive a royalty check every year from the state of Idaho, much like Alaska residents receive? How about having your taxes reduced instead of increased? We can have good jobs here, so your kids don't have to go off to North Dakota to find work. The money in natural resources is mind-boggling. It's estimated the lands the federal government controls, which really belongs to the western states, is worth $151 trillion in natural resources. Imagine for a moment if Idaho could capture just 1% of that total. That's $1.5 trillion toward the prosperity of Idaho. What would that do for us? Can we fund education? Absolutely. Can we relieve ourselves from the money the federal government is sending us, which is about 40% of our budget right now? Absolutely we can. We can cut them off and be an independent state. That is so critical that we do that. We don't have a balanced budget. We get the money from the feds to balance our budget. Is that right? Okay. I had a lot more to get into about this.
You're just getting warmed up, I know.
All right, so how are you different from the Tea Party faction of the Republican Party? That's the question. Well, I don't know if I would say I'm very different, but the Tea Parties, I've been in different meetings and things they've had, and I go to a lot of different meetings, but Tea Parties, a lot of people have individual views on conservatism and whatever it is that they believe is right for government. So I'm very different than that. What I'm about is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. That's why I'm running with this party, and that's what I support. And another thing too, I'm an American. Parties shouldn't matter at all. Vote for me because of who I am and what I'm about, what I want to do for you, not because of the party label. Thanks so much.
I don't want to follow Rick. Good evening, my name is Jack Mervin. I'm an Idaho resident. I've lived in Idaho since 1970 when I was born in Weiser. I grew up in southern Idaho, graduated from Nampa High School, where I was a state champion wrestler, 4th place at the heavyweight division. So I'm a U.S. veteran of the United States Coast Guard. I did my service in San Francisco, where I was on an 82-foot cutter. We did patrols around the bay and helped with recovery and other drug enforcement issues. But my big deal is representing North Idaho. I've got a business here in Idaho. I've been a farrier and a horse trainer my entire life. I started shoeing when I was 14 years old, and I still shoe today. Currently, I'm employed at Heritage Health in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where I completed an AmeriCorps internship of service last year as the case manager for the homeless, neglected, and abused and abusers of Kootenai County. I got to advocate for people for resources for them to survive on under $700 a month on average, and figure out how to help them live and survive in North Idaho. It's hard to say an estimate, but what I got really tired of being in Kootenai County was how many people from Bonner County were coming down, homeless veterans, homeless families, to get resources to try to figure out how to survive in Bonner County, in boundary counties. We need to have those resources here for them so that we can give them a hand up. I've watched the healthcare industry for the last 2.5 to 3 years through volunteering at Bonner General and their auxiliary department, and watching individuals go through the disappointment and the suffering when they don't have insurance to support themselves. So currently at Heritage Health, I'm an in-person assistant in charge of helping people navigate the Affordable Care Act application and doing public speaking on the changes in the law. Very good. If you have any questions about that, please contact me. How do you respond to the accusation that you don't reflect Constitution Party values? I haven't seen one candidate from our last forum or one here tonight that doesn't support the Constitution. I haven't seen one that won't come up with a quote someplace about the 10th Amendment and how states need their rights back so that we can control our own destiny. In that question, I don't know an American who truly isn't a constitutionalist. Everybody up here will use it as a tool, including me. So I am, at the core, a constitutionalist. Do I agree with every word verbatim of the Constitution Party's platform? No. But my competitor Christian, who's a constitutionalist, just said ignore party designations, ignore party lines, and vote for me because I will work for you. On that question, I am a constitutionalist.
Hello. My name is Laura Bree, and I'm a Democrat. I'm running in for seat A for Legislative District 1, and I have an opponent. So I am here to ask for anyone who is willing to vote the Democratic ballot to vote for me, please. I've been in Sandpoint about 19 years. I have 6 other family members who live here. I'm a Mass Aggie, and I intend to run through November. So I should be seeing a lot more of you all.
Did you want to show of hands on the whole Democratic thing? Or...
So just so you know, and anybody, you all can vote Democrat ballot. I'll call it the Democrat ballot. Okay, I have a question. Holy cow.
I didn't
I
ask
know.
the question.
I'll send you guys notes next time. Laura Bree, are you running as a candidate or a placeholder to keep the party on the ticket? I will see you in November.
Just a point of information, the newsroom put these questions together. I didn't even look at them as they were sealed, so it's been fun for me to kind of watch this and see what they're thinking too. So there you go. Full disclosure.
Thanks. Can I hold my pen? Put it right there. Wait, you already started.
You are 2 seconds in.
Hi, I'm Heather Scott from Blanchard, Idaho. I'm a 16-year resident of Blanchard, Idaho, and I'm running for House of Representatives, District 1A. I'm an aquatic biologist by profession, and I conduct fish and wildlife studies and water studies for public and private utilities. I'm an avid hunter, a small-time farmer, and a president of God's Provision Thrift Store to help the poor and needy over in Priest River. First few years I lived up here, I thought North Idaho was really rural, independent, and liberty-minded area. And then I started to notice little changes around me. I traveled a lot for work, and I had some run-ins with TSA. I had a roadside produce stand, and I had more than one government agency show up on my property with forms to fill out or inspections. All these things woke me up, and I started to educate myself. And this map right here was what started me to run for office. You probably saw it out in the lobby. When I found out that North Idaho was ranked 6th in the state out of 35 districts for growing and expanding government, I said, I have no choice. I'm going to run. I'm not the type of person that's going to sit and complain. I'm an action person. It became clear to me that the current legislators were not representing my views, and I thought I could do it better. And some of the issues that I'm passionate about and I plan to pursue are repealing the state healthcare insurance exchange and exploring and looking for alternative options for all Idaho residents, returning ownership of our 63% federally titled lands back to Idaho, and promoting term limits. And I think I lost, there it is. And I pre-opened it, sorry. I didn't hear him say that. Heather Scott, give a concrete example of government overreach in Idaho at the state level. And I got a good answer for that one. I could choose any, but who has a boat and has to get a sticker for their boat? Anyone? We're a lake area, yeah. Okay. Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation. They're there to answer your questions. We got the Idaho Department of Ag to manage the program and answer additional questions. We have the Idaho Department of Licensing to issue you the tag. We have the Idaho legislation to make the law requiring you to buy the sticker. Then we have the law enforcement agency to enforce that you have the sticker. We have county clerk to pay the fine to. And if you want to fight that fine, you can go to the county magistrate court. And I'm sure the taxpayers are paying for someone to study the invasive species. And let's not forget the boat check stations that are open from 7 to 7. So if you want to skip them, you just have to have dinner after you get off your boat, and then they're done. They're closed at 7. So that's overreach.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Sneddon, and I'm running to be your state representative. That's Legislative District 1, Position A. I'm a third-generation resident of Bonner County. I grew up here. In fact, I graduated from this high school. I moved back about 8 years ago where I practiced law for a local law firm in town. I'm running for 3 reasons, 3 issues that are really important to me. The first is the local economy and jobs. I'm watching as people move away because they can't support their families, because they're struggling to find jobs. I'm fortunate that I can live and work here. but we really need to focus on that. The second reason that I'm running is education. I support what the NIC's Sandpoint program is doing and NIC's Bonner's Ferry program is doing to take students and try and match them with local employers so that students can stay here, live and work, and continue to live in Bonner County and Boundary County. And the third reason that I'm running is to protect our quality of life. I love the outdoors. I want to make sure that we have clean water. I want to make sure that it's free of invasive species. I want to make sure that we have healthy forests, forests that we can get out and hike and hunt, and that we can use those forests for timber resources. All of these are really important to me. It would be a privilege to serve you down in Boise, and I'd appreciate your vote on May 20th. Thank you. My question. Stephen Snedden. Some have questioned why an independent appraisal was not done on the Pondere Bay Trail, and that you had a conflict of interest on the issue. How do you respond? Let me just give you some background. So for the last 4 to 5 years, I've been involved in a project to take about a mile of lakefront and set it aside for a public beach, public access, public trail. And as part of that, this occurred while I was serving on the Sandpoint City Council. As part of that, we worked on a plan to purchase 4 of the pieces from private property owners over 4 different years. Each piece was purchased for $400,000, and the final piece will be purchased this year. The question really doesn't state which piece, but so it depends on which piece you go to. But the first piece of property, lakefront, was listed for sale at $540,000, and it was purchased for $400,000. The next piece was more valuable than that, and it was purchased for $400,000. The third piece did have an appraisal. It was purchased for, the appraisal came back at $420,000 or $430,000. It was also purchased for $400,000. I believe that it's a good investment in our community to purchase waterfront. In the same way that we have the city beach now, I believe that this will continue to be a benefit for the community in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David and Cedar Post, for allowing us this opportunity to be with you tonight. And thank you all for attending on this nice spring evening. My name is George Espridge. I am your incumbent state legislator for District 1B. I was born in Bonner's Ferry. I grew up in Sandpoint, grew up in Dover, graduated from Sandpoint, and then went into the United States Navy, and I am a Vietnam vet. I serve in the legislature on Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, the Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee, and the Natural Resources and Conservation Committee. All of these are committees that are important to North Idaho, both in terms of what we're spending, our low-cost energy resource, and then more important, just as importantly, our use of our natural resource. My priorities, while I've been serving these past 2 years with your consent and your vote, number one is fiscal responsibility. And as evident of that, Idaho has a requirement to balance our budget. We balanced our budget this year as a member of Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, but not only did we balance it, we also put $135 million into our savings account. The other resources, or the other priorities, are property tax reform. Someone here talked about increasing taxes. Actually, we have helped decrease taxes in terms of property tax. We've increased the homeowners exemption. We removed the O&M from local government property taxes and transferred that to the responsibility of the state. And this last session, we protected that homeowners exemption. I'm pleased to have been able to serve you. I ask for your vote on May 20th, and the honor to continue serving you. And the question is, George Espridge, you said that Idaho roads are well funded despite a $250 million backlog in maintenance. What is your response? Well, my response is I don't think I have said that our roads are well funded. What I have said, however, though, is that Senator Keogh and I, along with others, have been very effective in getting better roads in North Idaho. We supported the Garvey bonding that's increasing or improving Highway 95 all the way up to Granite Hill. We supported the byway construction, which I think most everybody in this room now is well supportive of. We supported the Dover Bridge, and in fact, I argued vehemently with the governor that he allowed Dover Bridge to be one of the priorities when we had an opportunity to build it. We've also supported the Kootenai Cutoff Road. These are funded highway projects that are beneficial to North Idaho. But as far as the state is concerned as a whole, we are not well funded in our highway construction needs. We are about $230 million behind in road maintenance. We don't have a lot of money in terms of building new road and bridge projects. Therefore, I have argued in the past and continue to argue that we've got to find ways to fund our highway system. It's important to our economy and our safety, and we need to continue looking for ways to fund that adequately.
I get a preview. That's fine. Thank you very much. My name is Sage Dixon, and I am running for the Idaho House of Representatives, District 1, Seat B. Thank you all. Again, I'll reiterate this, what others have said. Thank you for coming out tonight. Your participation in this process is critical to the freedom of our nation. If we don't come out and get engaged, be part of the citizen legislature in this procedure, pardon me, as I trip, your voice won't be heard. It will be a small group, a minority, giving voice to what affects you in your life. I'm running in order to establish but to protect Idaho's voice as an independent state in the Union. I don't believe the latest, there's been reason to congratulate these legislatures on tours over the past few years, but overall the tendency has been towards larger and more intrusive government. We need legislators that will stand up for our Bill of Rights, for the state constitution, for our national constitution. When things come from the federal government that abridge those rights, you need to have a state legislature that will say no to this, that will look at these things and decide this isn't right for the citizens of Idaho. This will put an undue pressure or economic stress upon them, and in doing so, will decrease our quality of life. I'm going to go right to this question. This isn't going very well right now. The trip did not help. So, my question. You've been on the ballot before. What makes this run different? 2 years ago, I ran for Bonner County Commissioner against Mr. Kerry Kelly and Lewis Rich. That was a three-way race. Doesn't usually end up well for the lesser-known candidate, which I was in that case. This run is different because of what's at stake. The policies at the county level affect just people in this county. I am concerned with all people in Idaho. At the state level, we'll have a larger voice in doing these things and protecting the things I spoke of originally. It will be an honor to serve with other legislators who are down there seeking to protect the same issues. So, thank you very much. Once again, my name is Sage Dixon, and goodness, I hope I do better with your questions. This is a bit of a stumble. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm Shannon McMillan. I'm your current District 7 representative. I come to you today seeking re-election for a third term. My priorities are, as they always have been, to promote states' rights, do everything in my power to curb abuses of federal power, reduce state dependency on federal money, support the current effort of the state to gain control of public lands, and ensure that our Second Amendment rights are not infringed. To these ends, I have consistently opposed appropriations that take greater proportion of federal funds than the previous year. I have supported the resolution creating the Committee to Study Public Lands issue. I support the bill to allow enhanced concealed weapons permit carriers
holders to carry on campus, and I support current efforts underway to repeal the Obama exchange, which I and the rest of our delegation oppose today. However, there is much work to be done. I will continue to press against the EPA as well as the other issues I have mentioned, and if re-elected, reintroduce these measures again until they receive full consideration by the full House. I also oppose Common Core, which I see as an attempt to nationalize our educational system and a gross imposition on the local control. Moreover, Common Core is an unfunded mandate on our local schools who are forced to expend large amounts of money in training, infrastructure, etc., in order to implement this policy. Shannon McMillan, you failed to disclose the conflict of interest on HB 510 on wage garnishment. How would you not know you had such a conflict? To tell you the truth, I didn't give the conflict of interest any thought on that House bill. It happened last year, and I just never gave it any thought. I would have voted the same way whether I had the conflict or I didn't have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to move into our audience questions. I will give you a little bit of an explanation about how they are sorted. So what I did is, throughout the evening, I went around and collected the questions from you. I brought them over here and sorted them into piles by candidate, and then also general questions. What we will do is we will ask questions specifically to the candidates, as well as some general questions. Each person will have 1 minute to respond to that question, and David will keep time, and we'll move through as many questions as we can, but we have a good variety for you tonight.
I also want to recognize Tyson here. He's taking off tomorrow morning at 6:30 Southwest, right? You're heading to San Diego. And just today, I think, Tyson was named the Idaho High School Journalist of the Year for the whole state. Ball State in the fall, so he's been just a great partner the last couple of years. We've worked together on different things, and we couldn't be more proud of what you've done too. So the part of the idea of having the high school as part of this debate tonight was also to get high school 18-year-olds registered. And we've seen some people coming through to register tonight, and I've even seen a few of the high school seniors stay here to learn too. And that's what that was all about. And I think it's been a good experiment that way, and I think we'll keep doing that. Again, I think the more people we can register and involve with what we're doing here, the better off we all are. So again, you're leading by example by coming out tonight. Our candidates are leading by example by answering the questions. And this next phase is really important that we answer succinctly. And if it's a yes-no thing, say yes or no, and let's keep it moving so we can ask as many questions as we can. So again, this is an interview for a job, right? So can we follow the rules? Can we do that? I think we can. So Tyson, I'll turn this over to you, and I will run a mean stopwatch over here, and we'll make it happen.
Great, thank you, David. The first question is for Victoria. Which specific county fees would you eliminate?
Thank you. At this point, it's a very complicated, the planning and zoning department. I have not had the time, the knowledge to go in and investigate them. I've just heard from people who have businesses who are trying to come into the state. If they had known what they had gone through, they would not have decided to come to Idaho. I need to have a team that helps me go through them, and with a fine-tooth comb, it's not going to be a fast process, but it is something I definitely want to get into. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next question will be a general question. Candidates, with 3 proposed coal export terminals in Washington and Oregon, and more oil trains from North Dakota, trains through Bonner County may double in a few years. Do you have concerns for the safety of our citizens? What will you do about it?
I definitely have concerns about safety for our citizens. We have a number of public railroad crossings as well as private railroad crossings. When you double the daily number of railroad cars or railroad trains coming through the area, you increase the exposure to that danger, that hazard, derailments, the hazardous materials that will be traveling our rails. Those are huge concerns, yes.
Would you please repeat the question?
Yes. With 3 proposed coal export terminals in Washington and Oregon and more oil trains from North Dakota, trains through Bonner County may double in a few years. Do you have concerns for the safety of our citizens? What will you do about it?
Well, I happen to have experience in developing emergency response plans. I've worked diligently with our emergency management director, I can't think of his complete title. And first thing I would do is begin to put some emergency response plans in place for our citizens. The other thing that's an issue is that you're talking about commerce that runs through Bonner County, and you're talking about an entity, the railroad, who is difficult to work with. I do think that I could sit down with the railroad and work out some plans with them to protect the safety of our citizens. There's an issue with coal dust, and if that issue can be scientifically proven, I would suggest that they cover those loads of coal. We had the issue of the accident on Highway 95. It was handled well by the emergency response team. That would be the team that I would put in place to respond and to protect the citizens. It's education, it's management, and it's collaboration.
I see 2 separate issues. One with the trains carrying the oil, if it's Bakken oil or if it's oil from Canada that has a higher flammability rate, we have to ensure that the rail cars are in fact the latest rail cars, which are double rail cars. The other issue is with the coal and the dust, and I think what we need to do is take a look at whether or not we do have a problem in the first place, and if there is a problem, that the coal cars are not a hazard to the residents of Bonner County. And the tertiary issue here is also anybody that's gone up and tried to get across the crossings and sit there for 20 minutes is doubling that amount of time that we're waiting for. Do we go around up 95 to Schweitzer Road or do we take the direct route? So those are the 3 things we need to look at.
I do have concerns about the numbers of trains that could potentially be coming through with the coal. I don't have issues per se with coal. I think there are many other hazardous materials that are currently coming through the county on our highways and our railroads. The railroads, as Marcia said, it is Interstate Commerce Department. It's possible that as a commissioner I could use coordination with that agency, but it really is their decision. It is important to have a county emergency plan in place. I know that the county is currently working through that process and fine-tuning that emergency plan as a result of the spill down at Cocolala. And I know the neighborhoods like Cocolala, where they have train tracks going across both entrances, it's quite a concern if there's a medical emergency or a fire. So it is something we need to be aware of and look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I have concerns, and what I would continue to do is to educate myself. I've done a little bit of background work on the risks in play, and then also work with the county and city officials and the emergency responders who are on the front lines, and utilize the state legislative position to do whatever I could to bring everybody to the table, identify the risks, and identify the solutions to mitigate those risks, to make sure that our citizens are safe as those trains go through here.
I've looked into this and done some research on the issue. The coal dust kinds of coatings that can be sprayed over the coal, and then once it reaches the port, you can pour hot water on it and it dissolves it. So that could mitigate the coal dust concern. The other thing is, it is a problem having twice the amount of train traffic we have now. If you have an emergency, if you're having any kind of an emergency response, those critical minutes could be a life or death situation. So both of those are a concern, but I think they're both addressable, and we can still keep the commerce flowing through.
Yeah, I am very concerned about that. I spoke with a few folks in Boundary County that do emergency preparedness and are taking care of that for our county up there. And he says, if one of these tankers carrying volatile oil or some sort of fluid like Balkan oil, if that thing went off and took out a set of train cars, it would wipe out the town and kill many people immediately. It would just upset things in an unimaginable way. And so I believe we do need to look into that. I say let's put a pipeline in. Absolutely, that's a very safe way to transfer that without any problems whatsoever. So that would be my solution. I think sending all these cars through has a lot of potential for major disasters to happen. So that would be what I would support doing as a state senator for you. Thanks so much.
Good evening. Transportation is always a big issue. Commerce is always a big issue. Safety is definitely the number one issue. Protecting the people by lightening the loads would be one issue that would increase the length of the trains. That creates another issue. Putting in a pipeline invites land encroachment. Who's going to be supervised by that? Or who's going to supervise that? The studies that go in place for environmental impact. There's a lot of work to be done on this. It sounds like everybody's studying it. We're all looking at it. But who could not be concerned about it as far as a citizen goes here? The fixes to it are going to be in the future. So picking somebody who knows how to manage it without increasing the overhead by hiring more people for committees, without hiring more people to supervise it, and putting that responsibility on the industry themselves. So the railroad industry, the coal industry, the oil industry, that would be one of the biggest goals, so that the people of Idaho don't have to pay for all the studies. Thank you.
I'm not running against these people. I'm at 350.org.
Okay, of course we want to look out for everyone's safety. Do we want a nanny state? That's my question. I think there's simple, common sense solutions to some of these issues, and we decide, oh, let's grow government. Let's set up this committee to study and research, and yeah, we need to do all that, but I'm sure there's simple solutions. Covering cars for coal dust. Is coal dust even an issue? Sounds like it's an interstate commerce issue for me, which is a federal issue, but I think there's ways we can deal with safety without growing government. Just off the top of my head, it's like, what about a helicopter? What about a med flight that could come in and pick up people for safety on call? There's got to be simple, common sense solutions instead of growing agencies and growing more government. That's my answer.
This community suffered 2 tragedies last year. We lost 2 kids on railroad crossings. They're not safe enough. So I definitely want to look at ways that we can improve them. To give you an example of how I would approach the situation, I'd go back to my experience on City Council. On City Council, we looked at our crossings that were dangerous for not only school kids, but pedestrians. We went out and we found a cheap solution. The cheap solution that we found was those flashing yellow lights that are solar powered and you hit the button. It was a very cost-effective way to make those crossings more effective. In the same way, I'd sit down with the parties who are interested in this, look at similar solutions on how we can improve the safety of railroad crossings. Thank you.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, to the degree that we have increased coal trains, we have to deal with that in terms of crossings and other matters that would ensure the safety. But this is not the issue. The issue is our failure of our federal government to allow us to develop our natural resources. We are extracting coal, shipping it across our nation to the ports, selling it to China, where they generate electricity at a far worse environmental impact than we do here. That environmental impact goes into the atmosphere, comes back over here, drops onto us. We ought to be developing the coal here, building generation plants here out of coal, producing gas out of coal, both of which we can do, and using our own resources, producing our own employment, and satisfying our need for our energy resources, not China's.
The difficulty of being that end of the stage is all the good ideas get spoken of before you get over there to us. Yes, it's important that we take care of our safety, that we look out for the citizens of Bonner County. And to reiterate what George says, that is an important facet of it, that we would not have this traffic if we were making use of the resources that our nation has, but that can then piggyback onto the back of making use of the resources that Idaho has. If we reclaim our lands from federal government control, we'll be able to make better use of our own resources and increase our own prosperity, and that danger will decrease. Emergency plans are great. We want to do those things and look at the problem, never with the goal of increasing a bureaucracy or more government regulation.
Well, I come from a family who, my father worked on the railroad. So my answer to this is do what my father did with us kids. Teach us how to use the railroad crossings properly. The railroad crossings are there. Teach the kids that they are there to prepare and to go safely across them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. The following questions will all be for Mr. Snedden. If you would like to please step forward and you can just stand next to me, we'll just kind of go one after another if that works for you. Wonderful. The first question is, your radio ad states to vote for you because you are experienced. What experience do you have to fill this position for state representative?
Thank you. So I have 4 years serving on the Sandpoint City Council. While I was on the City Council, we actually dealt with 2 public budgets, both budgets being tens of millions of dollars. Worked on those over the entire 4-year period to set the budget, spend the money in the way that it's supposed to be set. So that's part of it. The other part of it too is that I also have experience on the Greater Sandpoint Chamber of Commerce, Friends of the Ponder Bay Trail. I sit in the board of directors for those. I'm also an attorney in Sandpoint, and I regularly advocate for individuals and businesses when they're going up and dealing with the state government or the local agencies. So I see how that works from another perspective, from the other side of the fence.
Thank you. The next question is, what is your position on protecting the gun rights of Idahoans, as your website does not address this issue?
Well, I would simply say that I'm pro-Second Amendment, and I believe that that's part of our way of life around here. A lot of us grew up hunting, and it's just, it's something that I absolutely support.
Thank you. You refer to yourself as the caring candidate. As the caring candidate, how do you propose controlling the wolf population?
I'll just say this. I don't believe that I've ever referred to myself as the caring candidate. What I've referred to is that I'm an experienced and conservative leader, and so I think that that's what I've said there. In terms of the wolf population, I'm really not familiar enough to speak on it as to what we should do or shouldn't do there. It's just been a real cursory overview, and the information that I've had on it is secondhand, so I just hate to dive in and give you an opinion without being fully informed on it.
Thank you. This next question was asked in a few different ways. I'm just going to read the one version. Hopefully we'll address all of it. In term on City Council in 2011, you voted for a wage and hiring freeze of city employees. The county's unemployment rate then was 13.4%. You shortly after proposed raising the mayor's salary more than a 537% increase from $12,000 to $64,500. Fortunately, a council majority and the mayor tabled the issue and it was never resurrected. How do you justify this uncalled for and breathtakingly high expenditure at a time of economic distress?
So the first part of the question deals with the hiring freeze that I proposed. And I think the question basically was looking at it as the unemployment rate in the county at the time. What I was looking at is as a manager for the city. And as a manager for the city, my primary responsibility is to cut costs. Not cut costs, but control costs and stop them from escalating. What I specifically proposed was not to lay off employees, it was to avoid laying off employees. And what I said is, some of these positions that we have open due to natural turnover, let's leave them open and see if we can get by without filling those positions. Maybe that will show us that we don't need more employees or that we can, that we're overstaffed in some way. So that's what I proposed on the city council, and that's what passed. The second part of the question dealt with, raising the mayor's salary. The mayor's salary is $12,000 a year, and what I proposed to raise it to was the poverty level for Bonner County at the time, and I believe that was $22,000. There was a proposal at that same time to raise it to like $64,000, which is, I can't remember who made the proposal, but that was approximately the value of a managerial level position. But at the time, my proposal was to raise it to $22,000 to recognize the fact that it basically is a full-time position. It requires a lot of work, and we want to attract good candidates there. So $22,000, not $64,000. Thank you.
Thank you. In a recent interview, you said you wish to continue what Eric Anderson has been doing. Does it include ending the legislative work week on Thursday? Does it include his promotion of government growth? And does that include continuing his high spending record?
What I was referring to when I said that I want to continue what Eric Anderson has been doing is his work on invasive species. I think it's really important for us. The lake is our best resource that we have out here. So I personally have watched as milfoil has moved in and it's moved through the lake, and now we have flowering rush, which is moving in. It clogs the bays that we have. We completely lose them to fishing, to boating, and I'm just concerned about the damage that's going on there. So I want to make sure that we continue to put forward efforts to protect our lake in the future.
Thank you. Do you support our incumbent legislators' vote to institute the state healthcare exchange in Idaho?
Tough one. I wasn't around when that vote was made. I've been looking at it very carefully. I think that we have some problems with the state exchange, and if necessary.
Thank you. Senator Keogh, who votes most often with Democrats, endorsed your candidacy immediately after you announced you were running. Does she know more about your political leanings than you have told the voters?
I really appreciated Senator Keogh's endorsement. She has years and years of experience. So for her to come out and say that she supports me was just really wonderful, and I feel I'm very thankful about that. As to whether she knows me, she has seen me work on the Sandpoint City Council for 4 years. I also have occasionally consulted with her on issues. I respect her opinion. I think that she does a great job, so I was delighted to have her endorsement.
Can we hear from another candidate, or is this the rest of the whole night is going to be on this guy?
What we're going to do is go through these questions. We've got other questions for other candidates, so we thought we'd do one at a time.
Despite your personal life, you show a pattern of recklessness and immaturity as evidenced by 5 speeding convictions in 10 years. Your ads portray yourself as a thoughtful candidate. Tell us why we should think of you as a thoughtful candidate.
Oh, I do have 5. I would say I probably have 2 or 3 speeding tickets. And that was when I was in college. The most recent speeding ticket, I think, was like 2 or 3 years ago. So I would say that, when I say that I'm an experienced and thoughtful leader, it's in my approach towards government. It's in the fact that I served 4 years on city council, that I have that experience dealing with laws, dealing with regulation, looking at how to cut, looking at how to run a budget. And so my experience is based on that.
As a California-educated attorney, how can you relate to the residents in a rural community?
Third-generation resident, Bonner County. This is where I grew up. This is my home. I want to live here and work here for the rest of my life. I grew up in a rural environment. I grew up in an old farmhouse that's 100 years old with cows and horses and goats. This is my community. The fact that I went away to school, I feel very fortunate that I'm now able to come back, work. I continue to invest in my community by being on the Greater Sandpoint Chamber of Commerce, dedicating my time to community boards. So I absolutely relate to this, and this is where I want to be for the rest of my life.
Thank you. Are you the assigned Republican asked by Eric Erickson to run against Heather Scott?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what the question means, but I am very pleased to have the endorsement of Representative Anderson, and so I would just leave it at that.
You were a supporter of and campaign finance manager for Kerry Logan, a strong progressive for Sandpoint mayor. Now you come before us as a conservative for Idaho Senate representative. What are you, Mr. Snedden, a progressive or a conservative?
Can I ask a point of clarification? Mayor Logan is here, and I don't remember that I was your campaign manager. Mayor Logan, was I your campaign manager? No. I didn't remember that either. So, you know, just that fact, I did work with Kerry Logan for 4 years on the Sandpoint City Council prior to her becoming a mayor. You know, the question really goes to my conservative values. I believe in limited government. I believe in individual liberty. I believe in lower taxes. Those are conservative values, and those are what I want to put forward at the Idaho State House.
Actions.
Can you make me believe you are an honest candidate and always tell the truth?
Oh, absolutely, I aspire to tell the truth. I mean, there's nothing more that I can say than that I will always tell you the truth.
What is your position on abortion?
Last kick in. Is this going to be all about him? Because we got candidates like Christian Faribault, the other people would like to hear from.
Here's what we're doing. We ask people for questions.
Okay, you got 10 minutes on this guy. Give everybody 10 minutes. We're going to go midnight.
No, what we're doing is people submitted questions, right? Everybody had a chance to submit
Well, I
questions.
think you maybe want to call it down a little bit. That's not all about midnight.
The question related to abortion, and I'm pro-life with two caveats. The first caveat is emergency contraception, and the second caveat is to save the life of my wife. I considered what instances I would be forced to look at, and if I had to choose between the life of my unborn baby and to save the life of my wife, I would choose to save the life of my wife.
You state that one of your goals is to reduce income taxes and property taxes. How do you plan to replace these revenue sources without reducing funding for education and other functions?
Well, we do it gradually. 7.4% is the current income tax. We lower it to 6.9% over a period of 5 years. The other thing is I make no qualms. Your services might suffer, but I hope to do it in a way that doesn't really impact you. The main thing I think that we can focus on is doing that gradually so that really the impact is very gradual.
Okay, this is your final question, and there's a little bit of a description with it. As a city councilman in 2011, while also an advisory council member of the Friends of the Pend Oreille Bay Trail, you advocated for the purchase of a landlocked piece of property along the lake and the railroad tracks by the cities of Sandpoint and Pend Oreille for $1.2 million, $800,000 by Sandpoint, $400,000 by Pend Oreille, for a trail, although the county assessed value is only $57,000 and the property owner's own appraisal came in at only $532,000. You also argued against an independent appraisal by the city on the basis of it being too myopic, because it would take into consideration only 3 or 4 comparable properties without considering the intangibles you saw in it, and because you guessed it would increase in value at some point. You voted for the transfer of funds to pay for it. Now for the question specifically. How does paying a hugely inflated price for a landlocked property during a time of economic distress and requiring that major funds be taken from other departments fit in with your stated position as a fiscal conservative?
The question misstates the facts. I was on the city council from 2008 to 2011, and during that time I did work on the purchase of the Pend Oreille Bay Trail. I think I've already gone into why I believe that that was fiscally irresponsible, and not only fiscally irresponsible, but it was a good investment in our community. Let's go back to the 1950s when the Lions Club set out to fill a bog in the city of Sandpoint and create a park and beach out of that area. That today is our city beach. And they managed that property until the 1980s when they turned it over to the city of Sandpoint. It's one of our most valuable resources. So when there was a recession, and when we were looking at the continuing exclusivity of around the lake and how expensive it's becoming, and how expensive it's going to be, and how limited access there is for this people around here, combined with the use that we have at the city beach, it was a good investment to buy this piece of property that the cities will own in perpetuity for the rest of time. And it's going to continue to develop and be more and more important. So I really am very proud of the work that the cities have been able to accomplish there.
Thank you. Next question will be for Danielle Aaron. How long have you lived in Bonner County? I understand you are on disability from the state of California. Do you think that you could carry this state as well as our current senator? What qualifications?
Okay, first of all, I moved here in 2006. I'm retired law enforcement. I paid into Social Security. I was disabled as a law enforcement officer. I've had 13 surgeries. I would love to be able to still work. But that's why I spend thousands of hours giving to my community so that I can pay you back for what you're doing for me. I receive $1,038 a month in Social Security disability. My qualifications, I have an AA degree in business. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have postgraduate degrees in criminal justice. I have been a PTA president. I have been a private business owner, owning my own farm, owning an animal rehabilitation farm, showing and training horses. I've also worked in the public sector. I've always been extremely involved in my community, very active in the Republican Party locally and statewide. So I think that I have the qualifications needed to listen to you and to go down and fight for you, because you're electing me to be the pit bull between you and the federal government. Thank you.
This next question is a general question for all candidates, and we'll start from this end this time. And then, candidates, if you could just meet me here at the end of the microphone, so when the person next to you is wrapping up, if you just want to move up, that way we can move along very quickly. So, the question for candidates this time is, what are your thoughts on drones flying over Bonner County?
The drone issue. I think that drones flying over Bonner County don't have any business doing that. The only reason that a drone should be up there is, like I'm on the Ag Committee down in the House, is for the Ag people to go out there and use the drones to plot out their own property. I don't think the drones have any reason or any right to be over your personal property without your permission.
To what extent we could do that in the state legislature, I don't know, other than passing a resolution or some sort of statement saying that we don't like this, we don't want it to happen in Bonner County or in our state. It's an FAA issue. I agree with Ms. McMillan that if it's a specific use that the homeowner appreciates or the county would endorse, then that might be a door to open. But if it's what we commonly know as drones flying over and gathering information for what purposes we're not sure of, then I would certainly oppose that.
I support drones in specific purposes, and that's related to security issues, agricultural issues, and that's pretty much it. You don't have the right to use drones to invade personal property. You can't trespass with drones, but they do have a use. Agricultural use is highly beneficial from the use of drones for determining where your fertilizer should be, where your water application should be. The same is true for security, border security, drug surveillance, these kinds of activities that our law enforcement people are involved in. But for the use of invading personal property or trespassing on an individual's property, that's not the proper use, and I would not support it.
I don't know anything about drones, and I can't speak to the issue. I apologize.
I don't know a ton about drones, but it's a privacy issue when there's drones flying over properties and collecting information. I was really surprised to find that the Farm Bureau supports drone use in agriculture. And so I've been talking to the president of the Farm Bureau and trying to understand where they're coming from, because we need to understand this and we need to protect our privacy of citizens. And with the NSA and all the spying going on, warrantless searches, we need to beware.
Thank you, Representative Eskridge, for giving us such a sensible answer. I totally agree with you.
Everything has a use as a tool. If drones are used as a tool by private request for property owners or for land surveys, that's great. And I can testify to the fact that if you guys are worried about being spied on, in 1992 I was part of an experiment where we planted a device that was probably less than a centimeter tall on an 82-foot boat, and we ran for 2 weeks. And within 20 minutes of the authorized launch of an F-16, without ever seeing the plane, I was identified on the bow watch of that boat by personal description from the pilot. I never saw a plane, I never heard a plane, and it took him less than 15 minutes to locate me. Drones are not going to violate your privacy to the extent that the federal government can do it with any tool they have. But they should be allowed to be used as tools on private request. Thank you.
Yes, I am very concerned about drones as well. I've seen how they can be abused to spy on farmers for whoever's agenda, whatever agency is trying to figure out something, some way to oppress the people. I think that there are uses for things like this, perhaps, and I certainly support a citizen's right to do as they will with their own property. If they want to go build a drone or whatever for whatever reason, just to mess around with, they can. But I'll tell you what, if Obama wants to go take some surveillance drones he's using overseas and bring them back here to spy on our citizens, I do not agree with that. I think that at the state level, we should work and create legislation to block any of that from happening. If the NSA wants to come in and spy on us through any other means, whatever it is, we should write legislation to block it as well and put things in place to make sure we enforce it. So those people and those agencies, those government officials are going to be punished for unlawful activity like that. That's my view on it. Thanks so much.
I see drones as a cost-effective tool for some private businesses, but you also have to be cognizant of the intent behind anyone using any kind of tool. And that I will fight all day and every day.
And we're on this side of the question this time, and so a lot has already been said that I would have said. I think it's important that drones, the new technology, be used in promising applications like in agriculture. Farmers in southern Idaho use it to cover vast areas and acreages of their potato crops, for example, to see what's going on and to also deliver applications of fertilizers and such at a much more cost-effective way than an airplane, for example. But we have to make sure that the utilization does protect our private privacy, and to that end, the legislature this past session passed a legislation that set the first stone in place to try to protect our privacy and make sure our property rights and our privacy rights are taken care of. And I support those pieces of legislation, and I